Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this daily medicine transmission. It is Friday, April 30th, 2021. It is the last day of April, and tomorrow is May Day, May Day, May Day. Has so many different meanings, doesn't it? May Day, May Day, May Day. So we are at Friday. We are at the end of the calendar work week, whatever that means anymore. And has it gone sideways yet for you? Has it? If it hasn't, it still may, because we do have our sun meeting Uranus today in Taurus. That is one of the big transits we have today. So I'm in a new location. I am working with some animals this week. So if you hear barking, that's why, or any other random noises that these dogs make, that's why. But thanks for being here with me. So before we get started, thank you to my subscribers if here on YouTube, on BitChute, and specifically my supporters on Subscribestar. Thank you so much. You are truly the lifeblood of this channel. If you're new here, welcome. It's so great to have you here. Check it out. If you find this information inspiring, helpful, you can support this content and these channels by interacting with the content in some way. So when you subscribe, when you like the content, when you share it, and when you comment, it all actually signals to the AI algorithm to spread this content to a wider audience. So any interaction really does help, and I truly appreciate it. So thank you for being here, new and consistent viewers. So let's get right into today, shall we? Like I said, has it gone sideways yet? Because it probably still can if it hasn't already. The sun is meeting Uranus, and I picked the title for this transmission of Let the Sun Shine In, mostly because in my meditation this morning, I kept getting the loop of the song by the Fifth Dimension, the Age of Aquarius / Let the Sun Shine In. If you don't know that song or you haven't listened to it in a while, I really recommend that you go ahead and find it and listen to it, because not only is it absolutely imperative to understand what's happening right now, it's by a group called the Fifth Dimension. So this plan has been in place for a long time. But that was going in a loop. And for as much as things have gone sideways, I know for a fact that it has for people very close to me, especially with physical injuries, really making a very drastic and swift change to their routines and their reality because of that. What we get when the sun meets with Uranus, of course, it's a drastic change. Of course, it's a shift in reality. But in some ways, Uranus is this collective third eye. And when the sun meets Uranus, it allows for the sun to shine in and to be just amplified so much through this collective consciousness that Uranus represents. So the sun and Uranus come together in Taurus. So of course there's going to be all kinds of disruption with our material world, with the medium of our growth, of our resources, what we value, who we value, what's important to us, what makes us feel good and what we are sensitive to. That is going to have a dramatic shift if it hasn't already. Our moon is in Sagittarius. Wow is going to be moving into Capricorn today and in an opposition to Mars. If it isn't already sideways enough, this opposition is going to really test us, because with the moon in Capricorn, we are definitely feeling on a very individual and emotional level this urge to get on the warpath, and in opposition to Mars, who definitely wants to be in Capricorn on the warpath, is in Cancer. This degree, I talked about it actually in the full moon report, and here we are. This is not an easy position to be in. This opposition with Mars at the 5th degree of Cancer is so dramatic, and so the karmic readjustment that will come from this opposition is staggering. So again, we have a sun meeting Uranus today, which is going to literally flip us sideways, because Uranus, if you don't already know, its north and south pole is tipped, and so it's facing it's still technically its north and south pole magnetically, but it's facing in terms of the directions east and west, and it actually rotates on its axis in a horizontal way from our vantage point, as opposed to all the other planets that revolve this way. So yeah, the dogs are already going at it. They're whining over this toy, and the other one is holding it and wants so desperately for the other dog to be jealous, and they're both in this weird standoff today. So take that for what you will. But this degree of where Mars is in an opposition to a Capricorn moon is really, like I said, a staggering readjustment. It's the Sabian symbol is at a railroad crossing. An automobile is wrecked by a train. So if, it's kind of this, almost a standard idea of getting your car caught on the track and you have to jump out before the train hits. And it's really about the results that occur when your individual will is pitted against the power of the collective will of society. Because the individual will is still very much a Cancerian energy. And remember, up until now, Mars had been in a degree where the cat arguing with the mouse. So there had been a planting of the flag and a decision that had been made about where we belong and where our loyalty will lie. And now it's about the unfolding of that and the result of making that decision. And so this is a very drastic karmic adjustment. And ultimately, we learn our lessons mostly through relatively destructive experiences. It doesn't always have to be that way. And, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to go down that road? But a lot of times, and this is why this is embedded in this Cancerian archetype, that there are aspects that we have to address when we make these decisions for ourselves, Cancer. The Cancer energy, for as much as it's about loyalty and the familial matrix, it does represent that matrix which allows our character to grow. So when we're pitting our individual will as we are starting to develop our character and personality against the collective will, which is Capricorn, by the way. Capricorn is the collective contribution that builds the matrix of reality, the structures and the institutions that make up our society, make up our culture, make up our government and our economy. And when we're each individually feeling like going on the warpath, but Mars is at very least giving us the courage and the stamina and the bravery to at least learn our lesson if there is a karmic readjustment. And with the Sun and Uranus together, it's just, there's no way around it. Whatever it means to us individually, wherever it comes out collectively, it's going to come out today. So let's look at a couple here. Let's look at the chart actually, because just to get some reference points here, as always, right, into our fourth dimensional modality of astrology, allowing us to move through time in the physical realm, which is the only modality that I know about that allows for this to happen. So let's look at the chart, shall we? All right, maybe. I'm going to make sure. Oh yeah, I see. I'm going to show you that in a second. All right. Where did you go? Okay, bear with me, guys. Sorry. What happens is I close this, I close the software, the program that streams it, and then I have to go through and open everything again. Okay, here's our chart for today. This is the 30th of April, and it's the last day of April. Can you believe it? I can't. I actually am still in awe of the fact that it's the last day of April. And like I said, here we go. I mean, let's look at our current transits, right? We have the moon crossing the galactic center pretty much right now in a conjunction with a couple fixed stars, and since we're here and in a sextile to Jupiter. So these are important. The galactic center, the sculptor putting his work into form, or her work into form, the ability to oh, these guys, oh wow. It's really the ability, when we're moving from Sagittarius to Capricorn, it is that transition point where the alchemy actually produces something. So we're in that stage now, in a sextile to Jupiter, which is expanding on and giving us, and is being the benefactor and the advocate for this metamorphosis, right? Coming out of the chrysalis in late Aquarius. This is a really powerful degree. And of course, with the Sun and Uranus meeting today, Uranus being the ruler of Aquarius, there may be a lot of square energy here between Uranus and Taurus and Aquarius, but still, Jupiter is really supporting and really expanding on this this moment of metamorphosis of the collective, right? The collective energy, the movement out of the physical matrix that is the engine of all natural life. There's no reason to discount Capricorn because it is the physical reality and the material reality that we live in and the engine of nature, right? The fractal geometry of the matrix that is unfolding, right? That is in its process of unfolding. And it's about our resonance with it and how we go along with it. So but moving into Aquarius is about the energy that is unseen, but very much palpable and moves through the collective. This is what the Aquarian archetype represents. And so it is humanitarian. It is futuristic because it's beyond what every other natural being has the capacity to do, which is use their mental acuity and their willpower and their awareness and their coherence to actually evolve, right? Because Aquarius is all about this evolutionary process and really quantum leaping. This is a big part of this today as well. And it's going to come through this karmic readjustment with the moon in opposition to Mars. And then we have this really ultimately very, very awakening moment where the Sun and Uranus come together. It's like opening the Stargate in some ways. So letting the sun of our sun shine in, right? What are we responsible for in cultivating our own ego consciousness? The medium of our growth has to be it has to have the nutrients. It has to be fertile, right? Taurus is about fertility. Venus is the great mother. She's also in Taurus right now. So it's a lot about the fertility. It has to be a fertile ground if we're going to grow anything. And this conjunction here, oh yeah, the dogs agree, is really blasting us off. It's almost like a bolt of lightning that ends up, actually, or a fire, or a bolt of lightning or a fire that then fertilizes the soil in some way. So the moon, like I said, is now in a sextile, crossing the galactic center in a sextile to Jupiter. So we do have this moment here where we can take some responsibility for everything that we have come to understand emotionally and on a personal level and invest that into, and remember, Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So there is a connection here, a familiarity with where the moon is, that Jupiter can be like, here, let me help you expand on what you've come to understand that will then amplify this metamorphosis. Okay. Now, before the moon came into this, position, it also came into a conjunction with Juno. Now remember, asteroid Juno is the wife of Zeus. She represents contractual commitments and betrayal and trust and loyalty. It's all about what we are responsible for when we make a commitment, for better or for worse. And believe me, Juno has struggled with that. So as an archetype, right? So she is at the position of fixed star Alhague in Ophiuchus, and the moon meets her today. So it's really reestablishing also where the moon was for the total solar eclipse that happened in December. We're still in this eclipse cycle for a couple more weeks until the next eclipse, which is on, the lunar eclipse, which is on May 26th. So May Day. Mayday. So we have a moment here. We did have a moment here early this morning where we really got to realign ourselves and reacquaint ourselves emotionally and maybe subconsciously with this position, the head of the snake bearer, and this is an individual Ophiuchus was was a healer, and he was the snake handler. And we're going to see here that as the moon crosses this point and a few other fixed stars, that this energy of Ophiuchus and also the Scorpion continue to be very active. Oh boy, did we not feel the sting yesterday. I really feel like that on many levels, people felt the sting on some part of their life. And maybe they pre-waved it and are now experiencing something today that pulls it all together. So let's show, so we had the moon cross Juno, right? And then crossing the galactic center, let's see, and then Mercury was also in a quincunx to Juno. That's because Mercury is in Taurus right now and is at a degree that is about, just believe you me, that in terms of the mental realm, there is this really very serious survival mechanism being triggered, right? Because that's the thing about Taurus too, is that with all of the fertility and the material realm, there comes a point where you want to protect the material realm. And this degree, 24 degrees Taurus, is very much about that. So in a quincunx to Juno, right? This square peg in a round hole, right? This wild card that provides an opportunity to adjust ourselves. We may be thinking about our minds and our communication, and the words that we express may be way more focused on survival and using almost aggression in order to do that. But Juno is reminding us, for as much as she is retrograde, we have to remember our commitment to ourselves and our commitment to our spiritual path, and not necessarily get pulled into something that is leading us to try to protect something that we maybe don't need violence to protect. This is where this quincunx with Mercury and Juno is going to come in today. As we see here, Mercury, like I said, 24 degrees, Sabian symbol. This, I'm not even going to read it. You can look it up if you want to see what the Sabian symbol is, because it's just kind of, oh boy. So the other thing that's really important to realize is that Ceres, asteroid Ceres, the goddess of the grain, she is at 27 degrees Aries. She is now in a conjunction with fixed star Vertex. That means she's in a conjunction with the Andromeda galaxy. This is about using our imagination to revisit a lost opportunity, right? The potency that we have developed within us gets to a point where failure is part of the process. That's how we learn. And if we have undaunted faith in ourselves, then we can fail and still be free. And we can fail and realize that we are not bound by that is a learning opportunity. So she is guiding us through this process today, but she is in a square to Pluto, now retrograde, okay? And that's because we are going now into the underworld of ourselves, and will be going over all the territory over the last year plus, from early March 2020, in terms of destruction, in terms of power of transformation, right? It's going to go through all of these processes. So for as much as Ceres, the goddess of agriculture, who is nurturing us and nourishing us and giving of herself on a very cyclical basis, right? She is also in a square to Pluto now. That's just like, okay, well, we really have to go back into the underworld. And that's the thing about, there's a direct connection with Ceres and the underworld, because her daughter Persephone was either lured into or tricked into going into the underworld, where no one can, once you go down there, you don't come back out. The only one that can do that is Mercury, because of the swiftness of Mercury's travel. So Mercury can go into the underworld and leave very quickly. And is not trapped there. And often I've seen Mercury, in terms of ancient Greek and Roman mythology, be considered a guide, right? A guide into the underworld, a shepherd of souls. But Ceres, on the other hand, her daughter is lured into the underworld and is made to be basically the queen of Hades. And so Mercury actually goes in and brokers a deal where she comes back to the surface half of the year. and then she goes back to the underworld as her rightful place as by the side of Pluto. So there's a natural connection here with Ceres and Hades, because when she goes into her contracted phase, it represents that time of the year where Persephone is not with her. And it does also represent the necessity of going into the darkness of the feminine aspect, going into a contracted underground phase that's necessary. So there's already a connection here with them. And then to be in this position where she wants to be free, she wants to gain a lost, address a lost opportunity and use her imagination to do that. But in square to Pluto, it's just going to be, there's going to be real tension here around that. And we have to understand that for as much as we want things to be a certain way, we have to address these fixed points in time, and we can't go back on decisions that we've made. They've already been made. So we have to now contend with that. And Pluto retrograde is going to show us everything we've missed when it comes to the power of our transformation and the really deep, embedded, unconscious structures that have been impacting us for the last year. We're going to go back over and really look at it now. So their trajectories are just at cross purposes. It's not that they're completely in an opposition to each other. They just have different ways of doing things. And we're going to have to lean into this square today to really get something out of it. But the moon is going to trine Ceres at the galactic center. So at the same time, emotionally and very personally, we're going to be putting our vision into form. And she is going to support that as well. She's going to support that sculpting of what we understand into something very material by allowing us to connect into our faith and our potency to create whatever we want from our imagination. And even if we failed, we can go back and try again. That's our failure is how we've learned to do it better. So there is a lot of opportunity to learn from things, and there's a lot of real strong challenge today as well. So I want to show you number one. It's not actually listed up here. Let me make sure it's here. Okay, this is fixed star Acumen, which is up here above the stinger of the Scorpio. This is where the moon is when it is in a sextile to Jupiter. And this fixed star has a very specific, they all have very specific energies attached to it. So think about acumen, right? The sharp mind and perception. This is what it represents. And so when the moon crosses this point and is in a sextile to Jupiter, right, that investment opportunity, sharp mind and above average perception, seeing what others are blind to and take for granted, and on the dark side of this, though, as always, there's always a polarity. There's a tendency towards a very morbid outlook with this fixed star. It is above the stinger, seeing the worst in everything. And with Sagittarius involved, it can be very religious. You can either be very fiercely a Bible thumper or very staunchly anti-God as well when the any planet really comes across this point. But with the moon specifically in this sextile to Jupiter, I think that we have this really strong opportunity to use our intuitive perception and see what others are taking for granted when it comes to attending to our everyday tasks. That's the thing about Sagittarius. Eventually, all of that understanding and alchemy and big picture has to solidify into something physical, and that is the Capricorn. So at the very end of Sagittarius, it is about attending to our everyday tasks that ensure our social worth and respectability, and also benefit our own constitution, right? Our own health and well-being. So we have the opportunity here when the moon comes into a conjunction with Acumen to really see things and really use our perception and our intuitive perception to see what it is that we have to do to attend to our everyday tasks. And when we invest this into where Jupiter is, and vice versa, Jupiter invests that Aquarian energy into this, it's showing us where we're going to expand and what we need to work on, and how that is, seeing things that other people don't see, which is probably going to be really amplified by Sun and Uranus coming together, which is like this Stargate of awareness opening. So there's a lot of that going on today, despite all of the problems, I guess you would say. And then it comes right after that, the moon comes over fixed star Sinistra. What a funny name. And it's at the left hand in our, from the viewer's perspective, the left hand of Ophiuchus on the snake. And it's really just, bringing us back to this very last degree of Sagittarius, where we are actually holding the serpent, right? That we have a hold of the serpent, and that it actually, kind of brings it into reality, because we're about to cross over into Capricorn, which is very material and physical. So it kind of reminds us that there is a material and physical aspect to this serpent medicine that Ophiuchus represents, and the healing of ourselves. Because that's really what Ophiuchus represents. He was a healer, and with herbs, and he addressed poisons. And remember, this was the degree, Ras Al Haig, the head of the snake bear. Shush! You're interrupting. He's got this toy in the corner and just desperately wants the other dog to address it. Hey, stop. Okay. It's really distracting. Okay. Anyway. So let's move on, shall we? We've talked about the astrology today. It's all pretty remarkable and very interesting, and a lot of opportunities to grow, a lot of opportunities to see things deeper than and beyond what we normally would see them, and certainly a lot of readjustment that is going to be very strong. So let's look at the reading today, because at first glance, it's not going to seem necessarily like the sun is shining in. Oops, come back. Here we go. But I assure you, that is what we're going to be working with today, because we do have a reversed moon as our outcome. So again, here's our retrograde, our Pluto in retrograde, facing the shadow of ourselves. This is becoming even more entrenched and more it's becoming more clear that this is what we're going to be working on. The Six of Cups is our causal relationship here. Let's just start right there. Six of Cups reversed. So when it's upright, the Six of Cups is the Sun in Scorpio. Pleasure. Ooh, something very not pleasurable. Maybe the sting of the century here. The sting of the Scorpion. Not pleasurable at all, actually. It was very not pleasurable, I think, for a lot of people. So let me see here. I have it all so discombobulated. All right, so here we go. The exact opposite of pleasure, right? The sting was not pleasurable. In fact, it hurt. It's coming, right? The sting is coming. This is also, this is not a fixed point in time necessarily, this entire reading. This is showing you how all of these energies interact with each other as a likely scenario. So coming into the moment, there is kind of a standstill if we don't see things, that acumen, right? And even if we do have the acumen, there may have just been like, oh shit, that didn't feel good at all. Afraid to move so you don't lose your current value, right? You're kind of at a standstill. You're almost paralyzed. Oh, that's interesting. Isn't that what happens when you get stung by a scorpion? Your whole body, if you've ever been stung by a scorpion like that, you'll go numb or worse, right? It'll blow up like a balloon. It'll turn black and blue, and you'll go numb. So afraid to move, kind of a paralysis. There are very deep emotions that come along with this card, but we haven't passed the depth of the pain yet. And this is what that is representing. And in fact, the pain is really, we're meant to really kind of sit in it for just a little while so that we can have a really strong sense of what it is we are feeling. And it doesn't feel good at all. I mean, we're not moving past the 5 necessarily. We are kind of stuck in that 5 of Cups through the 6 of Cups. Now, it's not to say that it can't resolve itself. It most likely will, but we do have to feel the sting coming into the moment in order to really know what it is we're feeling. So the Six of Swords. So there's a lot of so we have sixes, we have threes, we have twos, and then we have a 12. So we have another 6, which is the same as the sextile, right? It's this harmonious type of energy, especially after the 5, where we really struggle with something, right? The bottom of the curve. This is our first time where we're coming out of the bottom of whatever. And the Six of Swords is about the mental, the swords are about the mental and intellectual capacity. Six of Swords is science. Mercury in Aquarius, okay? The emotional wounds are healed. Now, let me show you something. This is directed towards this moon. So the energy that we're going to be feeling is going to carry into the outcome of having to address this very deep part of ourselves. Emotional wounds are healed. The mind can unfold all of its energies. See how balanced it is here? All of the swords coming into a central location where outside of it, the geometry is very scattered and chaotic, but inside the circle, it's very geometrically balanced. You have a cross in the middle, so that's denoting this divinity. And then you have all the swords coming into one central point, right? So they can unfold all their energies. There's research, there's all-embracing thinking, and there's success after anxiety or trouble. And there's a search for truth. Now, the thing about this is that type of energy is eventually, it's meant to be projected and directed to this moon card that is our likely outcome, which is entering the underworld, and really entering the underworld because it's reversed. So we're confronting our own dark side. We're confronting our collective dark side. And we can really reject this. When it's reversed like this is real dangerous territory. But the good news is that we have this mental balance and all embracing thinking and searching for truth that can be applied to this. And it's coming from this sting, this very emotional sting that the Six of Cups reverse is representing. So there's still opportunity here, even if we don't like it, and we can take the heart of the moment here, which is the search for truth, and really apply it to where we go into the underworld. Now, where are we energetically? So the Three of Keys is the chess game. When it's reversed, it's really suggesting it's time to just exit the game entirely, right? Don't get caught up in somebody else's power struggle, which is what a chess game is. I mean, it's strategic and it's an excellent game to play, and it really helps with your strategic learning, and it helps with neural connections and around strategy and thinking much more in terms of depth perception and rather than just a very linear perspective. So there's a lot of benefit to understanding the chess game. But when it's reversed like this, it's at a point now where there's nothing we can really even do. It's time to just exit the board. Like leave it to those who want to still stay wrapped in this, and we exit. So this is the energetic route that we have today, or that we have access to, which is just leaving the chess game, whatever it is, leaving the battle, somebody else's battle. That's not our battle, okay? So we have that, and then coming up to the Two of Keys, the treasure, our awareness. If the Three of Keys is our subconscious root, right? We're not consciously aware of it, but it's absolutely operating under the surface, which is it's time to exit this shit, right? It's time to be done with this dualistic bifurcation of, one way or the other. I mean, every aspect politically and socially right now is attempting to pit people against each other as you're only one or the other, right? Don't get in the garbage. Hey! Man, these dogs are bad. Okay. Come here, buddy. All right. But where we are consciously aware of, as a result of this, is that despite this disruption, the real treasure is inside of us. It's not in the material world surrounding us necessarily. Our treasure really is the light of our soul that's within us. So we know that, and it's taking some measure of disruption, right? This person's room has been completely overturned, and he's just like, oh shit, like, what is going on. And if you notice here, there's the little crescent moon. We do have a crescent moon right now. Like, it's not that thin, but it's coming. The lantern above his head, all he has to do, he's looking down at all of the destruction. All he has to do is look up. And then the chest right here that is just cracking open, right? That he doesn't see either because it's behind him. There is, what we're aware of is that there's something came and tossed our reality around, obviously. And what this is signaling to us, if only we change our perspective, is that the real treasure is actually something that nobody can take away from us. And this is at the top of our awareness. The disruption is at the top of our awareness, our conscious attention. But really, what we have here is a subconscious exiting of this whole thing. And then coming up through this heart of the moment, which is a very balanced mental perspective, and a search for truth. And our awareness being on, oh shit, somebody came in here and overturned everything that I have. But it also is giving us the opportunity to just change our perspective and be like, oh, well, they can't take what is actually the treasure because it's within me. Because where we really need to address these, things, because we are heading towards, again, this entering of the underworld. And with Pluto retrograde and having this reversed, it's going to be very significant. We have to confront our own dark side. We have to confront our collective dark side. We have to go into a very deep state of self-realization. There's intuition that comes out of this, but there's also hysteria and rejection of reality as a possibility. But with everything else in here right now, this is more aligned to those who are really ready to go into that Pluto retrograde state consciously and are giving up the seeming bifurcation, their participation in it, right? The Three of Keys up, turned on its head, right? The chess game, all of the pieces are just going to fall off the board anyway. So when we turn it over, but that will trigger going into this state. Okay. And some people are going to reject it, and other people are going to see something or getting into a deeper part of themselves that they didn't even know existed. But the Two of Keys is signaling that, are an opportunity to actually find this. Okay. So where can we find some support here in this process? Because I know it's not going to be easy. So the scribe is number 12, right? We have the scribe and then we have the unicorn on top of it. So both of these aspects are very much connected to the 12th house, as far as I'm concerned. Magic, transcendental experiences, creative and imaginative. This is all the unicorn. And then the 12th house is the end. The scribe is collecting all of the information. The 12th house is all of the information, all of the experiences, everything that there is to know about what has happened and what will happen is all in the 12th house. And the scribe is an individual who is recording everything about their society and just recording it and recording it and recording it, and then realize that, they're not necessarily making any, they're not really doing anything with that information other than recording it. And when you record it, you are consuming it in some ways, right? You're entering it into your own processor, and it's increasing your, it's increasing. Oh my God, the dogs. I haven't had dogs like in a really long time. My dogs passed away in 2013 and 2015, and now they are my guides. They're two of my guides. They are my familiars. So I haven't really had the heart to get more dogs. Now I have cats, and that's a whole different story. Anyway, it's just incredibly distracting. I haven't had to deal with this in a while. So how can we get support out of this when it comes to the chess game? Well, accumulating information, learning as much as we can. Again, research. We have science right at the heart of the matter here. And so allowing ourselves the opportunity to really just take in as much information as we can, record it, have it as something we have access to, and specifically, creative, right? The unicorn is about magic, creative. Indulge your creative side, imaginative side, magical side through some sort of artistic expression. So part of that too is taking in as much as you can about the world around you, and then utilizing that to express some form of it, and to allow yourself to be inspired by it as well. That's a really good way. I mean, it's one thing when you're like, yeah, just exit the game, but if you have no plan otherwise, that's a really daunting thing. So we can be inspired by taking in more information, being creative, using our imagination, in order to give us somewhere to ground ourselves when we're like, well, how do you exit the matrix, right? You have to create a new one. And that's what we're all doing together. And part of that is maybe opening up our awareness to aspects that we hadn't considered before, as a result of just learning and learning and learning. Not even learning, recording. That's what the scribe does. Okay. Now, when it comes to, here's our snow leopard. All right. Are you not taking the advice here of spending time alone in solitude, maybe not acting out as much in your normal ways, because it's important, because you're gonna be your perspective, King of Scrolls reversed, is you're gonna have to reconsider what you thought was knowledge and information. When it's reversed like this, I mean, you're kind of getting pushed off your pedestal a little in terms of being really sure of yourself and what you think you know. So it's important to allow yourself and allow all of ourselves the being humble enough to be like, okay, well, maybe I didn't know maybe I didn't know as much as I thought I knew, and I'm going to take some time away from constantly expressing what I thought I knew in order to really come to understand what it is the treasure, right? Because it's not what we thought it was, I would say. And the dogs agree. So, really incredible energy for today, guys. I'm going to end it there because the dogs are just going insane. And I think I've made the point, right? So, thank you for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. If you're interested in reading, learning your starseed origins, or getting energetic support, you can go to catalystenergies.net, and that is in the description box below. And Facebook and Telegram are an option too. And you guys have a great weekend. There's going to be the weekly astrology coming out. I will post that on Subscribestar. So if you're not a supporter, or at least have it bookmarked, you can do that from the description box below as well. And we will talk about this last quarter of our lunar cycle. And we have a new moon coming on the 5th or the 11th of May in Taurus. So that's going to be really incredible. We've done so much work over the last couple of weeks and really this whole year, but now it's really going to start paying off to do something that's even more impactful. This Pluto retrograde cycle is no joke. So thank you guys. I love you. I appreciate every single one of you. I will see you on Monday for the daily, and I will see you later for the astrology report. Bye.